Welcome to another episode of What Truly Matters podcast. Today we want to talk about group dynamics and group leading skills. I know that's something that you're very experienced in, Svagito, and you'll also teach a group on this topic in Spain in June. So what is it you teach about group dynamics?
Well, what interests me most in leading groups is how to learn to respond to the energy of the group. Because sometimes people, and also I did that in the beginning, you come with a certain plan, what you want to do, and then you follow that, what you have prepared, and then you miss responding to the energy of the group. And that makes the atmosphere in the group flat. And interesting enough, a group of people, they actually sooner or later they form one energy. And if you pick up that energy, then everybody who is in the group is addressed. If you don't pick up that energy, then maybe you address only a few people and the others, they kind of fall out. So for me, this is something personally interesting. And I like to also share that, pass it on. And it is also the mystery, part of the mystery of when you lead a group, because suddenly there's something that happens in a group, which is, you couldn't plan that. And it's like, that makes it really interesting, exciting, and it also brings then depth to a group process.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you also, because it's not so usual to have a group about leading groups. We mostly go to groups and we learn some method or something, where we look into a certain topic, and then we learn from the way the group leader does. And then when we teach it ourselves, we just sort of pick from our experience and we do it our way. But did you ever learn that, like how to lead a group, or is it just from your experience?
Of course, in the beginning, you often copy a teacher, and then you learn certain methods and then you apply them. And then more or less you respond to people. In the beginning, rather less. So only after a while, when you notice also doesn't work, then you notice that. But I was lucky enough, I had many good teachers, and who not only were good in their method, but they also had the ability to pick up group energy. And of course, also I've been with Osho a long time, and also there with the master, you basically learn to put yourself aside, and that means putting aside also what you want to do or wanted to do. And if you can do that and be in the moment, and that means being in a moment where you actually don't know what to do. And this is our moments that are usually, especially in the beginning, unpleasant, because you feel insecure, you feel a little fear, you feel, and the group leader, I should know, but then there's a moment where you don't know. And for me, to allow such moments when you don't know what to do is a very important part to learn. And with the master, you basically get trained how to be in not knowing, how to be in uncertainty. And this is actually a good training.
And what would you say are the responsibilities of a group leader?
The responsibility of a group leader is to be in presence, to be there, present to the moment. That means present to himself and present to the people who are there. And out of presence, there arises also the quality of love. And we often have a misunderstanding about that, because we have a misunderstanding about love. So we feel, when we feel love, we have an obligation that we have to do something. That is the usual understanding of love. And love that comes out of presence is just love, and there is no obligation connected to it. And that gives always freedom to the participants and also to the group leader. So there is no binding where the participants have to do something for the therapist or the therapist has to do something for the clients. There's no binding. Everybody is free. And when this is met or acknowledged, then the quality of love arises. The quality of real love arises in that moment. And for me, that is what is healing.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. I think for a lot of people who start, and maybe especially new people start leading groups, there is some confusion around that, like what's actually my responsibility, and when people are disappointed or when they have a different opinion on why they were there, they didn't get what they wanted, and so on and so forth. What are the most common mistakes or misunderstandings you see when it comes to that?
Well, first of all, there's always expectation on the side of a participant. And mostly the projection is the participants or also clients, they want to get from a therapist what they couldn't get from their parents. So that is what we call transference. Participants transfer that onto a therapist. And the therapist's job is to not receive that, to stay out of that. If he responds to that and behaves like a parent, then there is a very sticky relationship created. So the therapist's job is not to pick up that expectation. And that leads necessarily or consequently sometimes to a disappointment in the participant. And the participant has to learn to handle that. So he has to, he will realize that he doesn't get what he came for, but he may get something else which he actually didn't come for. So he gets something that he didn't think of. Mm. And that is the point, because we are all too much involved in our mind, in our expectations, in our wantings, in our desires. And we are too much ignoring our being. And for me, therapy is about helping a client to contact his being and to help him to come out of the mind and out of this desiring mind and expectations. And the moment you enter your being, everything changes and everything appears in a new light. And then many problems, either they are solved or they start dissolving actually. And for me, this is spiritual therapy. That's how I would define it.
So this course that you teach in Spain is about spiritual therapy group leading. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, it doesn't only have to be therapy. It can be also any other kind of group leading where you meet a group of people and you not only, like a machine, do your presentation, and it doesn't really matter who the participants are. And some people, they lead a group, they always do the same thing. It doesn't matter who comes. For me, a good group leader is, in a way, internally, you're always a beginner. You always do it as if you do something for the first time. So you have this freshness. And of course, we can't always do this. So sometimes we lose it. So then the question is how to find that again.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, so how do you find that? What can it mean practically?
Practically, it means being clear if you really want to lead a group. You need to find in yourself the feeling, yes, I really want to do this now. Mm. So that has to be there somewhere. The one part of the group process is to create a sense of safety where people slowly start to trust each other and the whole growth process and the group process. So, and only then later you can also deal with things that are challenging. In order to build group energy, you need to bring out in the beginning more the people who have more presence, who can contribute more to the group presence, and not give too much space to people who are more negative or more mindy or more in the mind. And that creates depth in the group, and that creates feeling of trust and a certain depth in the group. And then, for example, people who are negative, I deal with them a little later.
Mm.
It's not that you don't deal with people like that, but not immediately.
Yes.
So you wait a little bit till some energy, some strength, and some togetherness has been created in the group. So there are many things actually to consider. I mean, there are all kinds of situations that can happen, and yeah, so I have a lot to say about that, and that's what I want to share in the
In
training.
the training,
And
yes.
also,
And how will you teach this?
oh, very simple. Everybody will have a chance to lead.
Mm.
So and then get a feedback. I like to do it practical, not theoretical. So everybody is have a chance to lead some part, and then get a feedback, and then we examine what worked well, where did you feel connected, did you respond to the group energy, and what did you overlook, and what did you forget. So this is very good learning to get feedback like that. I didn't learn like that. I learned more by watching good group leaders. But this is a much very fast way of learning something, to get a very helpful feedback. So everybody else is there also who has some experience in leading groups, so maybe they can also give a good feedback. So in these days, I hope people can learn a lot in this way.
Mm.
And then we will do also guided meditation, how to lead a guided meditation that responds to the moment, how to lead a sharing. Because sharing for me is often it is just everybody says something, what was your experience, and the next, and the next. And also that sometimes is a little boring. How in the sharing to bring people more in.
Mm.
So they not just say what they experienced, but they also learn to look at themselves. So how to bring some more depth into a sharing, and how to help people to see themselves through the exercise they did and through the experience. Then, of course, how to deal with disturbances when somebody is negative or angry with the group leader, or somebody who wants to create a relation with the group leader, or there are all kind of possible situations that can happen between group leader and participants, and how to address that and how to work with that. So there are all kinds of issues that one can deal with in a group, how to bring up the energy of the group and how to complete something, how to make a completion for a group process so that everybody feels grounded and can leave also in a good way.
Yeah, it sounds like a really, really interesting group and
Yeah.
fun to see who shows up for this and what happens in that moment,
I
those
also
five
like that.
particular days.
Yeah, and I also like that because I'm not doing that really often.
Mm.
And then, yeah, and I hope I will get a interesting bunch of people who maybe we play a little bit together. That is also important, not to take things too seriously. That being in a group is just a playground. You make an experience and play a little bit.
So welcome everyone to this group in Spain. I will post information and a link, and you can sign up with Mati, who's the organizer. So we look forward to that, and all the best.